Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Opus Magnum. Let's hop in here. So we're gonna make a courage potion. Perhaps the Colvin message was mistaken. So I pretty much stopped doing the story at, I guess this letter. Well, no, we did armor filament after that, but, um, yeah. Seems like House Colvin is going to continue to be at war with House Tyson and Tassen, which seems like there's only a couple different ways this goes. Either the war goes one way or the other way, and then our main character either ends up staying and getting promoted but I mean he's already the head alchemist, so how could he really be promoted? It's like if he protects his house, then it almost seems like a different house would take him away, like he'd become the king's head alchemist or something like that. Um, if there is a king, there's been no talk of actually there being a king even. Um, so yeah, it kind of feels like what might happen is the war may just end, and then the next chapter has nothing to do with the war, which seems kind of weird. Perhaps the Colvin message was mistaken. I would assume it was. I wouldn't assume it was. It could still be retracted, an error by a scribe or page, the wrong letter sent. I'm sorry to say, I think that rather unlikely. Stay here a little while longer, Captain. I'll make a potion of courage, something to inflame your blood with the fighting spirit. Thank you, Anataeus. That's kind of you. What I'm definitely not doing as in the breaks in between playing this game is playing any more of Sigmar's Garden. So we're making a distilled alcohol potion of courage, which, okay. And I always just like totally forget that these have to be merged first. Otherwise, nothing happens. So one through here. One through here would not work. So there's gonna be like a specific point where this would have to happen, like this. And so I guess we probably are gonna try and take the least amount of space. But already I could see if I had a arm here instead of a second calcification, I could take one less space up anyways. Otherwise, what this all I think boils down to is just you need to be able to have an arm there, because that's the final position. Can I put something here to make it that? Yes, I could. So yeah, let's actually try the cheapest and the most safe spacing version of this first. Alright, so pick up one and then rotate 2, extend and reset. That will put it there. And then at that point, pick up one. No, let's not even reset. at that case. Let's just drop. And then rotate again. Rotate again. Retract. Pick up. Extend. You know what? Probably save ourselves a little frustration if we put this here and this here instead. And then drop. Yeah, I'm moving things around here to try to be a little bit more efficient with it. But that won't work well. Bump that, but start there. That way we can then just reset. And then once we've reset, we can just pick up and then Yeah, we're doing extra steps certainly here to get all of this to be in the right position with the least amount of steps, when honestly there is an easier way to do this. In fact, I think there's going to be a lot of more optimized ways to do this. Let's just step through this part to start with. Well, let me ask this question. Guess that would work. But does that make anything better or faster? Not really. Ooh, you see the danger there, don't you? Yeah. So there is more of a trick to this than I thought, and it is going to have to be the way. It's going to have to be a very specific way. Like, it frankly would just be easier to make a second item here and drag code this way first. Let's see how this works. Drop, reset, grab. Now let's see. See, that resets. And then you basically want to do the same thing, just with a little bit less twisting. So that would put one here, one here. Then you reset, then you grab it, then you extend it, and then you do several rotations, probably 3. Then you retract and drop. Let's see how that works. There, there, there. And then we just need more code from this point. Which would be to rotate, and just a lot of code here, twice, grab, extend, rotate twice, drop, retract, grab, extend, and then reset. And let's see if that works. It does. We just need 2 extends. And that should be it. Then we'll just go ahead and get rid of this piece. And yeah, once again, feels like there should be some way that this works better. Like, I don't know if it should just wrap around, or if these icons should just get smaller, or what. This should be the cheapest solution. I can't imagine it being any cheaper as our first solution. And honestly, there's only a slight different solution I think I can make to take up less space. Right now we have an area of 30. I think we could get it down a little lower. Oh, this just makes no sense at all. It really feels like some of these histograms are just straight up lying to you. How in the world at 80 do I get this to be any cheaper? Like, is there some item we're missing? If anything, we're kind of like, the glyphs that you can use change from puzzle to puzzle, and we aren't just unlocking things. Yeah. You have to have this. You have to have that. You have to have one of these. In a level of insanity, I suppose you could do this. You could take this and you could put it here. Instead. And then you could put in, and I don't think I would want to do this at all, but you could put in a just ridiculous amount of craziness so that you spun and pivoted this into place. Of course, I would have to start like completely over. It would have to be like, let's just see if we can drag the code. Pick this one up first. So pick it up 1, 2, drop. Do that. And then pick the one up that would extend and then retract, which I believe would be this part of the code. Go ahead and drag this one out and this, put this one in. Right. And so when you drop this, you didn't need it to pivot just once. And then I need to, I guess, just drop it at that point, which, yeah, is just this code there. And then I may have to extend a couple times from this to here. I'd have to extend even further so I can get around it and get to this point and then retract twice. Extend twice. Go from here to here to here, rotate 3 times instead of 2. Then retract twice and then drop. And see, at that point, I think I have to also take this and pick it up and pivot it again. Pick it up, pivot. That should put everything in place, which then makes room for I think just this code again. Pick up pivot. We need a reset in between that. And so you can see how the code is just getting more ridiculous by the second. Rotate, rotate. Drop. Rotate. Pick up. And then extend, extend. And reset. See if that works. Well, start this in the right place. I think I may have the wrong amount of pivot there. Yep. But otherwise, that's fine. So, this pivot here just needs another pivot. And I think this pivot here needs another pivot. And it's kind of crazy that this doesn't just bump that forward when other things do bump forward. Oh, it doesn't actually need 2 extends. Control Z. Oh wow, Control Z actually worked. That's funny. It's funny that undo would work. But nothing else works. Like control copy, control paste doesn't seem to do anything. And of course this is literally just trying to be the cheapest as possible as far as a solution. Like, it's not by any means more efficient. And if this somehow isn't the solution, I don't have a clue what it would be. Oh shoot, I think there is a way to make this cheaper. As stupid as it might be. I don't even know if it's worth it to do this. You would have to put a thing here and use this instead. So that would be 30 instead of 40. Because this is 20 plus another 25 plus another 30. You could go as far as adding one more on the cost. And that would be it. And yeah, there's a way certainly you could do that, but I don't think it's worth your time or effort to program it, because when you would get to that final built step, it would be sitting here. You would have to grab it with this arm like this, and then you would have to move the whole thing this direction, and then you would have to rotate this way. And because you rotated, now it would be pivoted out of the right direction, and so it should be kind of here and here and here. So the red one would be hanging over this, the air would still be in the center, and the salt would be here and salt would be here. Then you'd have to rotate everything back that way. Yeah. And I would say, if you were going to do this, you also have to then account for every time you want something to not bump into something, because the extension concept is out the window. So these extension and retractions don't work. You would have to potentially take something like here and then rotate it this way, and that won't work. Yeah, it probably would take some thinking, certainly, as far as trying to figure out how to get like this oxygen piece in the center. Yeah, I don't know how you would really do that. Like, probably something not too far off from maybe this. But then this still bumps into that. Like, if you grab one here and you pull back, that doesn't fix that problem. If you grab one here and you pulled back, it would go over that. But it still doesn't really fix that problem. And it's not like you can have a track go somewhere else. I can't imagine that there would be a better direction or solution to go with this. If you could switch this on and off, that would be interesting. But yeah, I don't know what the other solution would be here. Maybe something like this, where it just gets really ridiculous. You start down here, grab this, you spin all the way here, and then, or probably more likely you would start here, grab this one, put it here, then drop it, come down here, grab this one, put it there, and that would be backwards from what you would want, but you could then certainly try and swap that around later. Well, what you could do is you could, if there was an earth here and there was a salt here, you could then just spin it 180 and then drag back up this way and drop it, and then pick it up and rotate it. And then that would get you back into play, and then at, like, honestly, you probably might even want to pick this up and then just assemble the rest of the piece in this pattern up here. That way you can potentially then just focus on putting a piece here, and putting a salt one here, and then rolling back up and then doing that. Yep. Theoretically, that would be the cheaper way. As for area, I'm a little surprised that there isn't a better solution here for area. Like, yeah, I don't even think you'd want to do it here. I think you would probably want to copy something closer than that one. And then if you wanted to reduce the amount of area more, I still think this is probably the way you would do that. Yeah. The least amount of area, just I think here is in line with the least amount of space. And you'd have to be fairly careful to like maybe put this here and make sure that at no point does this roll over any of these squares. Which you probably still would, because at some point you've got to pick this up, and if you pick this up and went over here, you're still over that square. If you pick this up and you rotate, you're still going to be over that square. I don't really see a solution in which you're not over that square. And if you put this here, then this would just bump into things. Is there a better fit somewhere? I don't feel like there is. Yeah, I feel like you're gonna still end up with a lot of spaces, particularly when you have that final product, that you would have to really bend over backwards to try and mark. Yeah, and I guess that's where this perfectly balanced marker might be useful more than anything. Instead of just making things balanced, it might be very useful to show, hey, I know in this program this is going to go over this square and that's going to take up some area, so I might as well just mark that as part of the area. So yeah, you can make the area smaller. I don't particularly see each of these solutions in my mind though. Like, I see obviously somebody has figured out a solution that uses a little bit less space, but there's somebody here that has figured out an incredibly small amount of space. Like, there's a tiny little sliver of a line here on top of this being a small line. And yeah, I could get the cost down. Cycles though. If we were to look at this, let's not change our first solution, let's just copy it. How then can we make this more efficient? If money's out the window, I think your solution probably is not too far from that. So for this arm, really can't reach things. So if I was gonna do that, you might as well, at that point, try something like this. And I think at that point it kind of gets a little crazy. Because let's say you really could assemble a second pattern in some crazy level of efficiency, and then you take the second match and you put it here, then you wait for this to pick one up and drop it again into place. That wouldn't make the most sense. Could do something like that, certainly. Although I don't know if you're going to be able to grab pieces and do a glyph of calcification. Let's see, if we were to put another one here, yeah, you can't really reach that spot. This could put a piece here and drop it, and this could put a piece here and drop it. So then the question would become, can there be one here that would put another piece there and drop it, and this one could put a piece here and drop it. But even if this does reach that angle, I still would need something that would be able to reach these three stones. And so then that kind of limits you to this, I think. Because, yeah. Yeah, I don't think there's another spot where you could reach the stones. Except for here. I guess in all fairness, you could reach there. Guess you could also reach here. But the level of insanity of this is gonna get just crazy very quickly. Like, yeah, I could grab one here, pick one up here, put it here. And I can just continuously try and grab things and put them in different places if it isn't going to crash with anything, which is, I think, kind of a big if. Nope, I can't have a calcification there because I need this one to be able to grab this and do that. I could have a calcification here. Yeah, in theory you could continuously just say, yeah, let's add more arms, more arms, more arms. If we can get a single arm to go into any spot where we can actually grab a stone and move it and manipulate it in any way, then that is a viable place to have an arm. Maybe do something. But is this really fun or worth messing around with? Like, I don't know if it really is. No, I do know if it is. The answer is no. It is not fun to potentially try and optimize in such an insane way, and to just have a ridiculous amount of arms ready to grab things. Some of these you may in the long run find redundant, but they should, you would have to consider them at least originally. Yeah, I think at this point there's probably very little chance of adding any more arms. But then if you are going to write this code too, you've got 11 lines here. You can only show 6 at a time. This would just be full-on insanity. And honestly, I don't know if doing something like this is actually any better. That's kind of funny how you drag it down to delete it if it's an item, and you drag it up to delete it if it's code. Potentially just grab these items and put them all in place. Here, here. I guess the question would be, is there an efficient way of doing something like this? You'd almost want a 3-way retractable arm. Could you possibly have 3 of these next to each other? I mean, well, you could. Then I suppose the question would be, is it worth it to this is another case where if we could have more agents, then sure, we could potentially build things faster. You could actually do quite the pattern here if your only goal is to get these here. Yeah. You could have a whole nice looking pattern of 6 items ready to go. Question is, how do you get those? How do you get the reagents to the edge? And how do you do that in an efficient way? Because you could have a fairly high efficiency You have only one ending too, so I would have to almost stagger the experience. This one can't reach everywhere, although it might be able to reach. Yeah, you'd have to kind of stagger this in some crazy way. And at that point, I think you are probably still just going to end up spending a lot of time and energy. Like, pick up one here, and then you rotate this to that spot, and that spot only is the only spot it can even reach. And if I was to pick it up here, I could put one here and one here. And maybe one here. Which would get you not doing a pattern that I'd like to do. But it would let you build like 3 of them. And so maybe at that point you don't pivot everything quite in the same place. Yeah. I kind of give up. Yeah. This is... It doesn't feel smooth. It doesn't feel polished. Whatever the solution would be. Like, I kind of want to just go see somebody else's solutions and just cheat at this point. Like, yes, it does feel like you could probably build 3 at a time and reduce the amount of process a little bit. But I don't know if it's really worth the effort. Or actually, again, I do know it's not worth the effort. I absolutely know it's not worth the effort. Like, this, I suppose, would be maybe what you would reach for. Although, that, yeah. That's what you would go for, I guess. So you could form one fairly quickly here, and form one fairly quickly here. And what your goal would be to do is to have some cross arms just ready to pick something up and ready to expand it as fast as possible. But there's really only 2 items anyways, so you definitely would have to be fairly careful there. You can put another one here, ready to push. And you can put another one here, ready to push. But you can't go any further in that direction. You can go one further in that direction. You can go further in that direction. It wouldn't be worth it to pick something up and push it just this far. And I don't foresee a scenario where you can pick something up and sweep it around in this way. So that one would be out. Yeah. And if you were to grab one here, you're not going to be able to reach it. Not going to be able to reach there. Not going to be able to reach there. You potentially could have rotators here that would pick things up and rotate them to save yourself a little frustration. Like, in fact, you could even... You could have a rotator here, and you could have one on a track that moved, that picked it up here and then moved it. Like that, so that I could pick it up and move it here. Although, more than likely it would need to do something like that so I could pick it up at that point and rotate and drop here. Again, you could have another rotator here. Just, I don't know if it's even worth the effort though, or because you're really working really hard to just have something else do the work. But in the action of picking something up, rotating it, and dropping it, are you saving enough time so that the other arms could potentially do something else? And again, this is just an example of code that I really don't want to write, so I'm not going to do it. Story continues. Do you think the courage potion will work? It seems difficult to contradict the habits of a lifetime. It will, after a fashion. The potion I gave him is mostly alcohol. Glad to see you haven't lost your willingness to toy with the poor captain, even in these dire straits. I'm not toying, not this time. If honor demands that he lay down his life, I want him to feel comfortable, at least, and most like himself. Okay, I guess that's saying he's a bit of an alcoholic. Or drunk. That's touching in an odd sort of way. So now we have another line of dialogue. Hastily written note. My lord, the enemy is upon us. I must enter the fray myself. It has been an honor, the highest honor, to serve you for almost 50 years. If I had 100 lives, I would give them all, but I am sorry that I have just one. Captain, what is that first word? Ernst Gelt. So, we just got the guy drunk and potentially killed. We're getting far too much story and not enough programming mechanics for my taste. So now we must make a surrender flare, so I guess we're just going to lose. That's the end of it. Gelt made his sacrifice, the soldiers are fleeing. I have word that from Armand himself, that there were to change the signal light on the tower to pale green. Armand is better at treaties than he is at battles. There's hope yet after the surrender. I hate this. I did everything I could. If it hadn't been for Captain Gelt's tepid strategies and Armored's stubborn insistence on keeping honor, and Frederick's inability to do anything, but the future remains to be seen. So it's almost like they wrote these characters to be throwaway characters that you didn't care about because the story was going to go in this way no matter what. Obviously, this is not a branching path story. We were defeated so easily. I can't believe this. I got here just a few months ago, and the first major event is our surrender to another house. I've been here my whole life and have never witnessed something like this. So, the Glyph of Unbonding eliminates the bond between two atoms, which I assume means that we are going to start with something we don't want and instead get something we do want. Which at a certain level, well, this is not programming functions, which is what I really would like. The idea of starting with something more and reducing probably will speed up the process. So we have a product here that wants we want a green salt flare, and we have a orange flare to start with, and we also need some quicksilver, and we also need the Glyph of Projection, obviously, and we need the unbonding one. So what would be the most efficient way to start with this? We should probably just break one thing, and that's it. Wouldn't that make the most sense? So, can we do this all in a spin? We took this and we spun it. Is this gonna just crash into things? I think it really would. I think it probably is just easier to kind of make a chain here. Take this one and see if we can center this a little bit more. This is going to have to be at a higher skyline, certainly. Might be better to start here, though. 1, 2, 3, 4. There. Ooh. Here's a problem though. I break these two things apart and disconnect it, which I assume you have to disconnect it, and you can't just have like this one here. We should do an experiment on that actually, because if I could just really put this where it was and get rid of this one piece and then put it all back together and then just use a single merger to put it back together, that's great. Otherwise, we've got some high level insanity where I'm gonna have to, well, I'd still just use a merger, I guess. Alright, let's get this moving at least, so we have the beginnings of an understanding of what we're gonna do. Right. I'm gonna just grab this one and get rid of it. Grab, then retract a couple times, and then let's not at that point reset. Let's instead go this way and then this way. Go ahead and just start with that, pick that up, that, and reset, and let's see how that plays. Yeah, actually, this would make more sense, wouldn't it? Okay. That collided, obviously, stupidly. We may move things around, so that's not an issue. Okay. So, unless you have to actively drop this, that doesn't seem like that's gonna work. No, it won't. This is just a whole nother level of insanity, really. I don't think the disconnector is going to really slice us. Like, we kind of need something closer to this as a disconnector than anything else. What is the pattern? Because you need something like this. And you need something like this. And then you would need something like this. This just seems like this is gonna get crazy real fast. You're basically going to have to merge everything back using this piece. Yeah, and I don't even know what I'm looking for here. As far as, am I going for the most efficient? Or am I just going for like the least amount of spaces? The rest of these are salt, so you can't turn them into metal, right? Just make sure that's the case, yeah. So it's not something sneaky like you could just break one and get everything you wanted. So the solution seems like it's gotta be just a weird pivot pattern with something just willing to grab the salt and put it back in place later. Let's see. Yeah. If I was to move this any further, I'd have to move this up. If I was going to move it back down. Alright, so pivot plus 2. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let me ask this question. Like, And at the lower resolution, we can see how this is going to absolutely take all the space. If I was to put one here, I would cover those, and this would cover those. Okay. See, and it kind of feels like what they're going to do is give us a glyph of multi-unbonding almost certainly after this point. I wonder then if you just don't want something kind of like this one. Let's see how this works. It kind of doesn't. Pretty much you gotta grab this one and get it out in the same step. Or we gotta maybe just put a whole weight motion there. Okay. Is there any trick to this that would make more sense? Because what if we grabbed one? Nope. Couldn't be that pattern. If we grabbed that, couldn't be that pattern. If we grabbed that, I mean, could be that pattern, but I don't really see a reason for that pattern. That here. And you can't grab that one. I think what you do is probably start with this, and you probably have a fairly long conveyor belt concept there. And so then instead this rotates instead of moving forward. And then pivots. Yep. And what this, I think, is going to highlight more than anything is just the general problem with trying to get the pieces on. And I don't know if there's a better angle to this or not. Like, theoretically, some of this might save you a little bit of space. Which we can see we're going to immediately start running out of space. Four needs to move forward very quickly. And we can't even touch this center piece until we can't even touch the center piece until we have freed all the rest of the pieces and just have them in place, ready to go. Which, yeah, I don't know how you explain this other than this just straight up sucks. Like, this is going to be completely awful. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I think a retract. And then probably needs to get out of the way at least once. Then like 1, 2, 3, 4, probably 5, and extend. And probably get out of the way once. Meanwhile, we need yet another one of these ready to go. And 1, 2, grab. Grab. See how that works. Yeah, it's probably going to be this cascading problem. We're gonna have to do 6 times. Remember, they only give you 6 bars, so there's, as far as I can see, no way this works. Like, not a single logical way that this works in a good coding fashion. It's going to be a mess on top of a mess on top of a mess. I mean, so much so a mess. I mean, kind of just don't even want to do it. But I'm thinking about rage quitting. I'm not there yet, but yeah. Can we make a pattern? I really wish we could zoom out in some way so that this would just break up in more than one extremely slow spot. Like, is there something like this and this would require a jiggle? Like, and if we had everything like where to go, does that help anything? Swing there. And then you would have to move this over to the center, right? So center could get rid of that part, could get rid of that part. Not sure if it really needs to be that far out. We could potentially just have that and have that. Have that. And then have that. Well, let's see. See if number 6 can do something for us. Pick up and then do a full rotation. Honestly, probably could do a pickup and a rotation in each of them and do it multiple times. I don't know if that's going to overcomplicate things or not, but let's see. That would also require that this one gets out of the way. This design already is insane. Like, it's already taking up way too much space. And that's not even trying to do a conveyor belt. That's not even trying to figure out how you're going to put this thing back together. Alright, no. Everywhere where I put a rotation on this one, I needed to, instead of putting pivot, I needed to put a rotation. And sure, it would be nice if there was some way to change that, or if there was just a better visual depiction there, so that was obvious. Okay. Alright, well, this is going to get crazier now. And this is where a function would really come into play. Each one of these should also do. Let's see. Copy, paste. Still not working. Well, let's do the beginnings of the code and see how this works. In all actuality, it would still be fairly staggered, so there's not really a good reason to have them all start at the same point, but we'll see. Yeah. I think the problem we're gonna run into is either you're gonna have to stagger everything, or you're gonna have to buy some time. Maybe since these are going one way, the other ones need to go the other way. And because they're moving in the same direction. Like, I think I'm building like the most complicated, ridiculous one yet. As far as how this really would go. Just put this down here, get that out of the way. Just get rid of these. I don't know if we really need a spinner on this. I don't know if we actually need, because here's the thing, when we rotated like that, we would have to pivot. So why not just pivot instead of rotating? Anyways. Yeah, I think I may have overcomplicated this. Yeah. I have completely overcomplicated this. So we don't need this. We don't need this. That. Or that. We can replace this with that one. Get rid of this and get rid of that. I knew that was getting way too big for what felt like a realistic solution. Right. Pivot. Every time you pivot, pick up one and go the other direction. Pick up one and go the other direction. We've got to do that for several times. Wait a minute, why aren't we just using the repeat at that point? Yeah, repeat is the only function or anything close to a function that we have, so let's use it 4, 5, 6 times. And see how that works. May just have to line up a pivot on top of each of these to get the timing right. It should be grab and rotate, so why is it not working? Grab one, rotate. I kind of would like to see those rotate at the same time. I think the problem here is it's not grab and rotate. I think it's rotate and grab. It's probably what we're looking for. Nope. The way these grabbers work is that they close and they are not, you can't grab and rotate. You've got to let go. Which that then adds a lot of the code and still kind of fails miserably to bounce any of it right. And yeah, let's switch this back that way. And I guess each one of these is here. I don't know if we really need to wait that long. I don't know if we even need to grab here. Yeah, why is there a grab there? It would be nice if you could intertwine this code and say, hey, this should happen right in line with this. Right. let's go ahead and get rid of this code, this code. And that should all right. And we'll deal with this in a second. Next step would be go ahead and to get rid of this part. I guess our final product almost certainly lines up somewhere where this can be, which I guess is here. Which this may be a taller, that might be a tall order. Okay. Next stop. Got one here, one here. So we need to be ready with our code there. And this may get trickier later, but it may be fairly easy at the moment. Grab, rotate the other way, reset. We don't even really need to do that code for a while. Can we, as soon as this is disconnected, twist that? I have to put this in the correct starting position. Alright. Is that the symbol we wanted? Yes. So we can just go ahead and change that for a swing arm. Now, here becomes the nightmare part of this. We've got it, we need it back in place. And for lack of any other ideas, I think for our first solution, I'm just gonna do this. Yeah. And we'll see how this works and how the timing on this would work. Like, it definitely feels like there should be a faster way to do this. But I don't know what the faster way would be. Like, it kind of feels like for efficiency's sake, you would probably want it to be here instead, just so it doesn't move out of the way. But if I was to, that does feel like that would be less moves. would there be really any collision here? We did do it that way, no. Rotate, rotate, then rotate. And while you're doing that, this is still insanity. This is still just like way too complicated, and I can't see a solution that's any less complicated than this. You definitely wouldn't want to put this merger in between here. Even though it would fit, you would just crash into other things. And so we're taking up a lot of area and space in an effort to save space in the longer run. Well, in an effort just to not make this insane. You probably could theoretically put the Glyph of Unbinding here, and because something would always be on top of this, it would possibly stop it from respawning another one. And then that could potentially take up less space, and we'll show that later, but let's reset first of all. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on this. And at that release, and then probably a rotate, then probably another release. And while it is rotating, probably going to pivot at that point. Yeah, we're not even going to be able to see this. I may have to just increase the resolution again, because this is just going to get atoms may not collide. Okay. So we've got to grab the atoms back because we're using repeats. And we could more efficiently just handwrite that code. Okay, we needed that in position. Which means this piece of code can't happen until this point. Just major breaks, which things are not doing anything. I suppose at a certain level, ooh, I don't know if this is gonna work. Like, I suppose at a certain level, machines might want to take breaks and cool down, but actually in electronics, the thing that tends to mess them up more than anything is the idea of them heating and shrinking through like thermal expansion. So it probably would be better if they didn't take breaks and were just kind of constantly being liquid cooled or something like this. Okay. I'm not sure I need anywhere near this many minuses, so that can save us some time. Drop, rotate, and see the repetitions again. Oh, this is stupid, but would there be an argument to just put one here and just grab it and move it down the conveyor belt instead of moving in that code? This is where programming code doesn't make any sense, because logically it would be smarter just to have this act every time one picks up, pick it up and spin it the other way. And I'd love it to just repeat, but repeats the preceding set of instructions. If the preceding set of instructions were just this. Yeah. Again, this is why you need functions. Is that repeat does not work as soon as you start to get more complicated with it. If I could write a function that said drop and rotate, a very simplistic function there, and then give it a number of 6 to do it 6 times, the code would be way more efficient. And you can easily do like 10,000 to 100,000 lines of code in a program, depending on how complicated it is. But even when you are doing 100,000 lines of code, if you're going that high, it's still nothing compared to what the lines of code would be if there's a whole extra repetition there. Yep, it still would be nothing compared to what it would be if you didn't have functions and didn't have repeating loops. Right. Pick up, rotate, drop. That's what I actually have to do. So I have to put another pickup in between each line of code here. Yeah, I find that fairly irritating. Let's see if that's enough. It's gonna be this, then pick up, then rotate, then drop, pick up, rotate and drop, pick up, rotate and drop. Come on. Three, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Now it's just all about the timing. let's see. Start by that one. And then put one here, here. Might need to put it here. Here, maybe. Yeah, I don't think I'm quite putting these in the right places, but we'll see. Just have to click through a lot of things to... Yeah. Okay. Don't have enough of these. And this can just swing back and be ready to go at that point. And this very well may be able to swing there. Is something happening on each step at this point? He's got one extra pivot. And then this apparently needs to wait quite a long time. I'm not sure. No, it doesn't need to wait. I think what we do is we get rid of this one, and then I think we're probably fine to do that, that, and then reset that. Like, I can't even get everything all on screen. It does need one more pivot. So let's just bump these. See, I don't think I particularly even care to try to optimize this too much. Alright, so one tiny problem of this being in the way when we swing, which hardly matters. And then I feel like the pivots here are a little slow. You have to wait for it to pick up and then rotate and then drop. Is there any way to speed that up? I mean, if I was to put that there. Okay. Get rid of this piece. Reset here. And then I'm not sure you need a rotate so much here. Which, that's really just being very pedantic at this point to try and save a little bit of time. There. Yep. So I saved one square, which then means I have to try and draw a box to drag everything this way. We've got it though, so yeah. Is there possibly any more efficient way to do this? No, but if anything, we've finally seen a proper use for the 6-spoke wheels. And you can see, even though that cost 175 gold, that's just putting me right on average. Cycles, it's not even setting me at the highest cycles. And area, it's actually fairly cheap. Let's see. So if I was going to try... Oh, I didn't even realize I had a piece there. Well, at that point we should just let it solve and see if that reduces the area by such a small amount that it doesn't matter. You know what's missing from this game too is something like Human Resources Machine, where you have a fast forward or a slow down ability. Yes, we have a step button, but we don't have a skip, we don't have a 2x. And you can see how these programs are only going to take longer and longer to be solved. And see, that saved me 4 spaces just by cleaning up the mess, and probably saved me a little bit of gold. So I'm just gonna theoretically show what I think you could do here to save space. You could take this here, and it would have to be something like this here, and then that would do your brakes and use, I think, a little less space. Yeah. If you did put it like that, then you almost would have to have it somewhere else. So probably wouldn't work. So you put it there, save a little bit of space that way. You, at that point, still really can only hit it with that, though. So what would be the next step to save space? Let's see, if you had one and you were here, could you go somewhere else? Nothing. You'd have to figure out a way to get to this. And I don't see a way you can get to this. But maybe if you squeezed it down this direction, see, if you took this, I wish you could just drag this around. Yeah. You can overlay this, and that still would let you take this, as long as you're spinning it and pivoting it in the right direction. And that overlay, I think, would work. Yeah. Okay, so that saves you a little bit of space. Next part of this would be to how do you get it back. Here. Has to be kind of something like that. Which that would work, certainly. So you have one big extendo arm. That would start here, go on the track, so it can reach a little bit further this way. Is there some way to use up as many spaces? Now they're already being used, because you would have you'd have 1, 2, 3 here. Being used. This would collide. I think everything else would pretty well collide too. Spin, spin, spin. Move all the pieces, put it here. Spin, spin, spin. Get all the solutions. And then when this piece is here, can't rotate here because it would hit something, can't rotate here because it would hit something. Can it come back this far? No. So what's the final answer? Spin, spin, spin. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think I would need to do some fairly large amount of debugging still. Just real attempts to get that to fit into the mechanisms. Yeah. What you probably could do is have something like this, but instead in this form, so it could bump down that way. And because of that setup, then you could probably push something in the way, put a piece in the way without using a glyph. Because, like, yeah, you would have a solution here, and then you have a solution here. You could possibly bring it back, and then you could rotate it. And that shouldn't collide with anything. And that would, efficiency wise, I think set you in your best positions. Like, I don't know how you could take up less space. You still have like 3 spaces here that are not being used, and I don't see really a way to get around that, because you can't put an arm there, you can't put a track there. You just need that space free. You have a space here that's not being used, which I guess means you could probably instead just use something like that. I don't know if it really matters one way or the other. It'll save you a little gold, I suppose. But that probably isn't reducing the amount of area you would use. Let's see. That's an area of, well, it started off as an area of 28 for that. Let's see. If this is 50 and this is 25, 28 would be roughly around where you would want it to be. And then cost, let's see. Honestly, I think if I just replace this one with this one and hit play, yep, that gets the cost to 155 gold. And is there a way to save some gold here? I don't know. Like, could we get rid of one arm? See, that was 145 instead of 155, and that's still not cheap enough. So, could you possibly replace a 30 gold with this for 30 gold with something else? No, I don't see a way that you could. You could possibly replace this 40 with instead of this 120. So these two 20s would then be 140, and then you could tell it to grab this piece and then turn around and grab this piece. That also potentially would save you a little bit of room, but I don't think that this design in any way is going to use less room. This starts at like 41 as far as room. But replacing one of these with one of these doesn't actually save you any gold. So, would there be possibly a solution here where you picked up one of these? No, because you need all 6 in your hand at once. And this costs 30 gold too. Would there be a positional placement I could do? Probably. Save yourself like 15 gold. Get rid of this here. Rotate that there. And maybe put that there. See if that messed that up too much. Is there a safer way to do this? So it would swing more? Well, again, I guess maybe if you replace this with that one, then you could retract. Or it might simply be a case that I just need to rotate one more time. Just so I am moving at the same time it's moving, just to get it out of the way. Yeah. It doesn't feel like that really works. It feels like it would just always crash on you. Which, I mean, you can adjust for. Then you have all of this code that no longer makes sense. And then retract, like drop. I'm gonna get the timing completely off here, and I'm not gonna really try and solve this. I'm just playing with this to see how this would really feel. At least that does feel very compact. Tracked, dropped, drop, and then rotate, extend, extend, grab, retract, and see if the code was again forced to line up, then everything would be getting bumped on each of the arms, not just one of them. Retract and rotate. Yep, there's a danger, certainly. Well, would we need an extendable arm at all? Could we possibly have a fixed arm if, say, the fixed arm was here, and no, I just don't think we have enough. Like, yeah, the fixed arm works fine here, works fine here, works fine here. But once you get to this point, we can grab this and put it, but it would have to be pretty much there. We could put that there. We can even do that much. But I don't see how you get a second arm. Unless there was some kind of insane thing you could do, or you could pick one up here. And I don't think there's a way that would work. No, I don't think that would work at all. There's no way you could pick something up and then use this arm for something else. So at this point, everything would be in the way, and everything would be in the way. Can put that there and that there. Wait, do we have it? No. No, we don't have it. Like, you'd have to do something like this. And again, I don't know if that's worth it. Is there any point to use up less area where it would make more sense? It does make a lot of sense to have this ready to go. But that does kind of seem like that is the smallest common denominator you can have. You're gonna have to have all these pieces used and all these pieces used. I guess again, if this is just looking for if you are just looking for the cheapest possible build, this is probably it, roughly speaking. Start somewhere here, picking up this piece and putting it here. Let's do that, and then rotate, drop, rotate, extend, and then start the rest of the code. What happened there? Rotate, drop. Should have been another rotation. Then there should have been an extend, and there should have been a grab. Okay, I see. It needs 2 rotations. And of course now all the timing is way off. And yeah, I don't even know if you can really bump this as far as this needs to be bumped to try to get it to work. And this is once again just going to highlight how unworkable this interface is. And see, I have 2 monitors, so my mouse is all the way on the second monitor. But I don't know if that means anything. Like, what you more than likely are going to have to do is grab as much as you can, like here, move it several spots, then pan, grab as much as you can here, and move it several spots. Let's see. I don't even know if I'm going too fast or too early in this case. Probably seemingly not going early enough. But maybe not. Maybe I just squished all these rotations. See, right now should be a grab. And rotate and... Yeah. I think I probably just squeezed all of the code in such a way that it is now needs to be bumped again and again and again and again. I bet that is closer to what it needed to be. So we can't even get, without fixing the code here, we can't even get to the next step to see the part that I want to see. And I'm just wasting a lot of time now. This is another 2-hour and 20-minute episode. And see, that's too early. That's too early. Right, and that's too late. Yeah. You can see that the game is really just unmanageable. Yeah, here, this one doesn't need to happen. We don't need to let go. As far as an interface. And it's not like 7 billion humans or human resources machine were particularly great systems by any means, but let's see. I think there's just a whole bunch of code here that we don't need anymore. Extend. That puts it in place. And then I think probably start having to pace out and put all of this. But that needs to go that way, and that way, and that way. Let's see. But at least with 7 billion humans and human resource machine, there was like there was a real effort. This is funny. Why is this not lining up at this point? Because this extends. Yeah. Maybe I don't need to extend the arm twice. Yeah, I bet I don't. But at least in human resources machine in 7 billion humans, you let's see. You had a can't go in 2 directions. Yes, it needs to let go and then rotate and then grab. That's what I keep thinking. You had the ability to copy and paste. You could label things. It was very rough coding and programming compared to any real program language, but it was at least something. Where this is as close to nothing as I could possibly think. It's wearing my brain out. Certainly. Alright, well. I almost had that perfectly. It's just one more thing we need to push further. And see, this one resetting actually doesn't even matter. This could just be drop. And what I'm definitely not doing here is wanting to play any more of Sigmund's Garden. Okay. We've got it. We just need to do that. And see, there's a gap here that obviously we could close as far as timing is concerned, but there's just so much code. And I kind of like the efficiency of the way this visually looks, but not enough to really justify the extra 40 minutes I just spent on this. And there's still this high chance that we're going to look at the histogram high scores and it's going to say, actually, no, this isn't the cheapest way to do it, or no, this isn't the least amount of space you could have used. I'm seeing an area of 38. Well, apparently 38 is the right amount of area. So we got the area down. I honestly don't even care to try to fix the cycles, and I've been saying up until this point it's the cycles that is the closest to real world programming that would interest me. And that was 110 gold. How could you possibly reduce the cost even more than that? Like, that's the real question. I'd want to know, like, what could we possibly get rid of to lower the price? A 20. And a track. Like, the track, by the way, could go that far before it's worth 20. So yeah, maybe you could shift something and maybe you could have 2 single tracks for 10. That is also a possibility. Just want to pan around and make sure I didn't leave a component somewhere. Yep. Theoretically, you could have one here that would handle this, and would be able to handle this at that point. And guess you could do that and that would save some gold. But then the question is, that's going to change things ever so slightly. So we found the smallest amount of room. And to make it cheaper, you would just do this. And does that really change anything? Yeah, it kind of does, because now we need this point to be able to drop that there and that there. Let's see. We pick this up. We picked it up and it was here, and then we dropped that there, over here, and then when we had this all alone, if we instead came over one as we were rotating, I guess that's where you save the 10 gold. I can't imagine it any other way to save anything. Just by starting here, drop your 1 mercury here, eliminate through the long process all of the salts around it, then taking it and swinging it to this point, and then taking it back and swinging it back to this point, and putting it back together, and then swinging it here and swinging it there. That's not efficient by any means, but I guess that would be the slightly cheaper answer if we really cared. But we really should not care. So let's just read the story. So what's supposed to happen now? I'm not sure. We have negotiations, question mark? Useless. Negotiations aren't useless. No, I mean I'm useless. What good is my skill if I couldn't change anything? Why did I go through the trouble? Now's not the time for a big philosophical, soul-searching reverie. You're right, of course. And yeah, it does feel like what it does feel like the characterization and story with Lim might continue. That being said, if this is supposed to be a relationship and supposed to go further, like, are you going to become king at some point or head of a household yourself? Are you going to marry Lim? Sadly, the only way you can solve this is if you play more of Sigmund's Garden, which I was just about to declare this puzzle just empirical evidence that you cannot win on some of these puzzles, but there is a salt here, so theoretically you might be able to win. Let's see. If I use the salt to get rid of that, probably is going to expose this one, which probably won't help us. Or it could expose this one, which probably wouldn't help us. Or it could expose this one. Alright, that did help. But you really have to consider your movements very carefully on this. You can't be flippant and then be upset when you don't succeed. There's a point where an undo button would be really nice. And I think you do probably want the mercuries to be used before the salts are used, at the very least. Yep, these are all extra, so really just match those two. Do this and free another metal. Probably a good idea. Salt and salt, do they match together? Yes, they do. That's probably something that gives you more of an advantage than it would seem. I still feel like if you just make it to gold, you should win. And this was an actually very easy deal from the feel of it. I could turn out to be wrong about that. Maybe I was just in a bad mindset when I first played these, and because now this does not feel as difficult. See, at that point you should just win, shouldn't you? Like, do you really need to play this whole game all the way to the end? And see, that gave me another achievement, even though I've only had 3 wins, so maybe there's actually, maybe I misread the achievements and you only have to play it 100 times. it's much more reasonable to play it 100 times and then have a secondary requirement of only 10 victories. So yeah, that might be much more reasonable than I thought at first. Let's see this dialogue. Here we have new characters. The Great Hall of House Van Tassen. Taros Colvin. Ha, weaklings, you were right, Varen. So this Varen, I guess maybe is going to be our antagonist character or rival character as far as an alchemist. Nothing to be afraid of at all. As I expected, House Van Tassen strayed from the path for too long, and we were the agents of correction. I bet he is basically running the show, using him as a puppet. That would be my guess. And here you have some very different art in the background, which I don't hate the art. I kind of don't like the character portraits, but whatever. I'm definitely spending a lot more time hating the game and the interface of the game more than the visual novel story. Now that all remains is to negotiate the terms, not that they have much of a bargaining position. Negotiations are boring. They're still necessary. What if we just killed them all? ? That strikes me as a little extreme. I hate the idea of an ancient weak family hanging around even after we've won. They'll stick around begging for our scraps, waxing on about the old days. It poses a risk, as you told me yourself, Varen, that the old ways were due for a change. I did, yes. You're not afraid, are you? Honestly, it feels like Colvin may just be a crazy psychopath, like most leaders. Easy enough for you to propose the idea of attacking, but when it comes time to follow all the way through, I'm absolutely not afraid. If you believe eliminating the Van Tassen line is the right choice, then I will follow. Varen, you consider yourself clever, but just because you're the house alchemist doesn't mean you can place your ideas over mine. Understand? Of course, Taros. Follow me. So, interesting. We start off from a high position, and now, apparently in Chapter 3, we're just going to have a fall from grace in the downriver corridors, which was not particularly what I was expecting. So it seems like we're basically going to have a revenge plot happen where we spend the rest of the time trying to defeat the evil person. Is there really reason to go back and do any of this? No, I don't for a second feel like there's a reason why I would want to go back and ever do any of these puzzles again. Not a single one of them are particularly interesting, with maybe the exception of the armor filament that had a kind of a unique mechanic of just going forever. But everything else I've pretty much forgotten as far as puzzles go and challenges go. And yeah, assuming this is a 6th chapter and not just credits, we still have a decent amount of puzzles that we need to kind of hurry through, because I am taking a lot of time and spending a lot of time doing these puzzles for no good reason. So that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.